El-Rufai have officially joined the African Democratic Congress ADC, sending ripples across Nigeria's political landscape. Atiku's move was confirmed just days ago, and now El-Rufai has obtained his ADC membership card. The defections raise critical or crucial questions, one of them which is, what do these moves mean for existing parties? What prospects do they offer for these leaders, and can ADC suddenly emerge as a serious alternative ahead of 2027?
Now, with these realignments, we're looking at new alliances, shifting loyalties, and fresh tensions, all just as the countdown to the next general election begins. Today's developments could reshape the balance of power in ways many didn't expect. Now, we'll unpack the possible political implications. We can analyze how this might affect their individual chances and explore what ADC stands to gain or risk as it welcomes these big-name defections. Now, to help us unpack the political implications, we're joined by Sam Amadi, who's the director of Abuja School of Social and Political Thought. Thank you so much, Mr. Amadi, for joining us.
Dr. Amadi, many thanks. We appreciate you for coming on. And let me just start with your overall assessment of Atiku Abubakar and Nasir El-Rufai joining the ADC at this stage, just ahead of the 2027 election cycle. Bona fide members, is this a good or bad move?
Well, for them it's good, for the coalition good as well. Okay, first, it's not much of a major surprise that Atiku Abubakar or El-Rufai would join. I mean, the Atiku Abubakar at the first unveiling of the ADC, these petitions were there, they founded, and they are part of the perhaps 6 or 7 pillars of APC. So it was a matter of time when Atiku would turn in his official membership of ADC, because many people believe perhaps it's the most influential founder of that coalition and one that some think could be the presumptive nominee for the presidential candidate of the party. El-Rufai himself has been there from the beginning, has been passionate about the need to bring people together to defeat Tinubu. Maybe he has a lot to lose personally, politically, if Tinubu wins a second term. And also, Peter got special waiver to delay their formal entry into the coalition until they get done with some, small political business of by-elections and the number of elections. So it was set that at a point now, Atiku will come in. Now, it missed a couple of things. One is that it's not clear that ADC is going to have, there's going to be no intensity around ADC. I mean, in line with what may be the new electoral calendar, you expect the new political work to start now, with issues around who is the nomination, convention, congresses, and all that. So Atiku Abubakar and Nasir El-Rufai enter the race or enter the party formally at a time that you're going to be seeing heavy political lifting, at a time that you're going to see reconfiguration of the party in terms of what each person brings in and what each person takes. This is a coalition, and you expect there are going to be a lot of internal squabbling around position. Who gets what? So this is the right time now. So we expect the drama to now unfold in a bigger theater. This is real 2027 now on the mark.
Dr. Madi, you've said the drama is a good time for drama to start to unfold. But how significant is this move for the ADC as a party? I mean, could this defections transform it into a major political force?
Well, I think with the political landscape today, ADC is bound to be a major, whether you're sure whether effective, but a major political force to unseat the ruling APC. This formalized entry, because these guys are, part of this coalition. So this formalization of their entry, now clears the doubt as to what we should expect. Now we know that Atiku Abubakar is determined now to be part of this coalition formally, would fight perhaps to get the presidential ticket, and would now, be set out to do a lot of formations, proper protocol, meetings and actions to deepen the hold of that party in the north. So El-Rufai. So first, we're going to see a contest around the north because APC also is throwing in a lot of chestnuts into the northern political fire. They need to win the north. ADC is built its strength, it looks like, from the north as well. So this now pitches them. So we know the effective. A couple of things will show that. One is we know that there is inbuilt political lethargy in the Nigerian populace right now. I mean, Tinubu, APC's 10 years when we are judged failure does not necessarily translate to a vote for ADC or any coalition. The coalition has to be put together properly. The coalition has to bring a candidate that can inspire an alternative hope that, just like one in 2015, and it looks like everything is set for a repeat. You now have, if you like, a mega coalition, even though at that time the APC was a formal the merger of a sort of existing parties, namely the Tinubu's party, Buhari's party, a rump of APC led by Atiku and Amechi, and a very small also rump of APGA led by Okorocha. So these were a merger. What we are seeing now is not as a merger as we saw in 2014, but a coalition of, you can say, APC, both Atiku Abubakar, both El-Rufai, both Arebe Shola, Malami, and a couple of other not too heavyweight politicians are part of APC, but they are not official. We're not seeing the APC officially merge. We can talk about PDP. Atiku Abubakar leads a couple of people from PDP to APC. So, in a sense, it's a simulation, if you like, a pseudo type of what happened in 2015. Again, we've seen a government being, perceived as not performing. Look at the insecurity. Look at almost like deja vu of the kidnappings and all that. So we are building up to a similar situation in 2015. But what now left to get done, and we know we're in for a real fight, is to have a political person as a candidate perhaps who embodied that populism, that mass appeal that Buhari had before coming to power. I mean, especially in the north, it was perceived as this the guy who can get it. So if we get that setting and how these politicians agree to work together like they did in 2014 when they gave Buhari that ticket and all stay together to work for him, if they can have that kind of unity of purpose and bring up a candidate who satisfies both the zoning, again, the whole thing against Jonathan was northern time, not the right of the north, time of the north, zoning. If they do the same playbook, then it's possible in my book that this ADC could actually unseat Tinubu in spite of some kind of state capture, some kind of weak institutions. But I guess the government suffers huge credibility with the populace, and that translates to vote. If fair, we have the same fair and fair election we had under Jonathan. Second, we have the same type of candidate who can ignite confidence and acceptance and appeal of the people. And thirdly, if these everywhere will support such a candidate, run around and deliver.
But do they have the mass appeal? I mean, El-Rufai and Atiku, do they have the substance or the pizzazz that is required to get that wave of what we saw in 2015? What would it take? Do they have it, ADC?
At the moment, the person that really has, they don't have, El-Rufai doesn't have mass appeal that cuts across the same way Buhari had. In the north, look, he probably is posturing to be the successor to Buhari in the north. He has some credits, significant, with some northern youths. He's very strong in terms of vocalization, he's eloquent, he's also frantic, and intense. So you're going to have a fight with him. It's going to be everywhere. He's courageous, he's able to also be tasked in his action. So a bit of Atiku will have some kind of match in him in terms of that level of intensity, ferocity, and maybe resort to dark arts like the APC used to do. So that's a plus for him. And again, some youths can, the kind of things he says and the body appeal to some of the Northern youths strongly, who are looking for a smart, strong guy who can maybe counterpose to the South. Okay, so he passes that, but he doesn't have that credibility that Buhari had until he unraveled as a president. Atiku Abubakar, one could even say, perhaps does not have that at all. I mean, he's a very large political figure with a lot of credits here and there, with a consistent team, but he doesn't resonate with the people who constitute the voting population as such. So he needs to ride on a smart, strong platform to get it done. Amechi, who is also part of this team, doesn't have that appeal at all. I mean, he could have ferocity, intensity, and some degree of recklessness that you need in politics, in Nigerian type of politics. But mass appeal, I will not. I think it's only P2B who has that mass appeal. But the problem then is he also has some weakness that has to be remedied by the combination of this. So that's why their solution lies in picking the candidate who has a mass appeal, but that's really what you need to have a balance. Tinubu perfects the conventional politics. You can see the defections, you can see the deal making, you can see the appointment of ambassadors. I heard you guys talk about it. It shows a guy whose eyes on political deal making, So you're not going to beat him by trying to occupy that space of conventional politics. You beat him if you can rally, inspire, sustain that inspiration in spite of state capture, coercion, violence, and bribery and seduction. Get Nigerians to say, you know what? We are moving to a different alternative. And Mr. A or B offers that alternative. If we can't create that revolutionary moment where people say, you know what, we are done, and they're not getting enticed or seduced or coerced, then you're not going to beat a war machine that embodies everything, negative but effective about politics in the third world.
Dr. Madi, how important is zoning going to be for the ADC in the forthcoming election?
Well, ADC is trying to avoid that question. And I think it's a lame, it's actually self-defeating. Some of the ADC members are saying, you know what, the key issue is to get people out. And then we care about just who can fix this country. Unfortunately for them, most of the leaders are persons who have been in government. So there's really no, oh my God, let's try this guy. Sometimes in politics, a fresh guy who has no baggage, it can be more inspiring. He comes here, do like Zamdani's kind of, build up all kinds of wishy world, great ideas, going to change the mood and change the star and so on. That could be good narrative. And people will say, maybe it can be, but once you're there, tested, tried, you are now on your pedigree, not on any idealistic or any purpose. So the problem with these guys is that they can't tell Nigeria. So if they think that they can override the zoning consciousness with a very dry and pedestrian argument around competence, it will fail woefully. Or the notion that the biggest elephant in the room is getting who at yes, I think it's time to truncate APC in Nigeria to give us a fresh list. But two things can go together. Nigerians also say, no, we don't want to go into this cycle of replacing Jonathan, who in hindsight did far better than you guys, and then bringing something that will now be just like Buhari, sending us 40 years back. So the key questions are two here. First is zoning. They not remove Jonathan because it was Jonathan time and Jonathan reneged on that commitment. We voted for Tinubu, El-Rufai, everybody argued for Tinubu because it was Southern time. And so you can't come back now and make an argument that is really believable, that suddenly it's no longer the time of the South. So the zoning will play big in the outcome of this election. And the next thing that will play big is credibility. Nigeria is going through a lot, and as politicians, a class have low rating generally in this country now. And so you need to have large turnout to defeat it, because vote buying is the next bus stop in the electoral malpractices landscape in Nigeria. It's difficult now to write fake results, except you have a large-scale compromise of INEC. And with what Mahmoud did in the last election, of course, has been rewarded handsomely with ambassador position. I mean, I don't see INEC going that way again. So there's going to be a measure of institutional integrity. And so rigging now might fall back to buying votes. And to make that make economic sense, you just have to have low turnout. So the candidate that the ADC needs to have capacity to bring the troops, everybody come out, motivated to vote and stay there and do all kinds of mandate protection activities. And that means at the minimum, you're going to inspire people and keep that inspiration at a very high level that's higher than the rate of demoralization that Tinubu and the government will bring. So to do that, minimum, a candidate that people can trust, for one, the candidate that people have hope about, that they can get things done. And so if you don't have that, and zoning is now an emotive issue. I mean, you can't have Buhari finish, and then it's certain time, and you have Tinubu doing 4 years. Is lackluster, not competent, incompetent, and bad. People will say, okay, fine, give someone 4 years to finish their job. And that probably is going to be Tinubu's greatest argument southward in 2027. And if ADC does not do like PDP and deal with that crisis and sweep it away, they will lose election to Tinubu in 2027.
As we look at 2027 from a political strategic standpoint, I mean, you've already rolled out a lot of strategy for them, and hopefully, they're watching, right? But there's also the figure of, the person of Mr. Peter Obi, who is also part of the coalition, but also says he's a member of the Labour Party. Now we have Atiku, now we have El-Rufai, there's also Amechi. Heading into 2027, the issue of zoning, what will be their strategy? What do you perceive or preempt their strategy will be to clinch a chance at anything at all, or even advance the party forward after 2027?
Okay, there are three issues here. One is Mr. P2B, for what El-Rufai said, should he now make a decision, because according to El-Rufai, they were given up until now to decide to formally enter. And so far, Mr. P2B has not formally renounced his membership of Labour Party and formally entered into the ADC. So as a party, as a coalition. So that decision in the weeks to come, maybe next week and before Christmas, we hope to have a definitive position on that. Is Mr. P2B in or out? I think that's important. Second is the other issue is that it seems that, from the language, there's a sense in which the members of the coalition want Mr. Peter Obi in. I mean, it would be foolhardy to think it's not a great resource. Whether you think you will or can win presidency is a different matter, but at least you concede that, like Farisha said, that this is the guy who perhaps represents the opposition more than any other person in terms of votes in the lock. But so they want him in. But at the same time, it looks like a couple of them perhaps doesn't want him at the tip of the ticket, maybe somewhere under the ticket. For whatever reason, some would say maybe questions of personality, questions of compatibility, questions also about the Igbo question, the vexed Igbo question all the time in this country. So how APC grapple with these contending issues? The fact that they need him, and the fact that perhaps some people want to concede to him is a challenge they will deal with, that will define their pathway to victory or defeat in 2027. And the third issue is the idea of primary. I've spoken to some of the leaders, and they are very strong on the view that, of course, it's difficult to a party of such ego. Atiku is a guy who is committed to running for presidency, perhaps ad infinitum, until he can no longer run. And Amechi is a guy who is confident of himself and thinks, if you have been a chairman of a speaker for 8 years, chairman of speakers forum, chairman of governors forum, governor for 8 years, minister for 8 years. What the heck? You're only thinking that you are the guy for the presidency, because look, you've got every of these gravitas and bona fides to be president. So Mechi continues to think, I'm the guy who should be there. But maybe the first don't say that. But again, So if you are in those, of course, Atiku Abubakar, El-Rufai might not want to be president now, but wants to be somewhere close to hitting where he can strike in 2031. So a lot of ego, a lot of desire, ambition at play here. Would they cede to an P2B who appears the best candidate to revive and stimulate the base and spread some populism that they can build on? Is just going to be the issue. And they talk about primary, and P2B's body language suggests he's not really for Nigerian kind of primary. And the ADC founders said, we're going to have a free and fair primary. But the history of political primaries in Nigeria is that he has own strategies that do not necessarily equate to the strategy for good governance. So the guy who is not going to be the best guy for the candidate might win the primary. I've been in a couple of primaries myself. So I know that primaries in Nigeria do not test the winnability, who wins the election ultimately. I mean, so except the leaders themselves make that decision and build a primary to get end result. Take Buhari in 2014. I mean, Buhari without Tinubu, without these guys coming together to prop him up, wouldn't have won. Even at that, it was a close race with Kwakwanso, Atiku. I think Kwakwanso came second or thereabout. It wasn't like a wipeout. So Tinubu then had to weigh in and say, look, this is the guy who can deliver for us, and we'll get him on the ticket by all means. He left to Buhari, would have lost that primary. And so that is the challenge that ADC has to face the days to come. First, what do we do with P2B? Second, how do we deal with zoning? And thirdly, what kind of primary do we want? And do we really need to kind of coronate a candidate before primary? Or do we leave it to the vagaries of primary contest and take whatever we have and do the best we can? So these are top-level decisions they have to make down the road.
There's lots of ambitious individuals in there. One of them is Atiku Abubakar. I mean, critics will argue that he was the undoing of the PDP. Will his ambition become the PDP, undoing of the ADC before it's even started? Only time will tell, sir.
Yeah, only time will tell. But the history shows that he is dogged about running. Perhaps he has made a lot of errors in terms of the past. Perhaps people say if I was supported to Jonathan, maybe he would have taken over. If he had come under Buhari, under Basanjo, he would have been president. So there are many if counterfactual. But what is true now is that his ambition rests on his supposition, two suppositions. One, that the North is going to vote for another candidate, and that's enough to win, and he's going to be that candidate. I think that Tinubu, as usual, will do very well in the North. I'm convinced about that for three reasons. One, I think so for some people, religion is what counts in the North. Maybe Tinubu is a Muslim, still a Muslim. They vote for him. Secondly, money, big wigs are going to swing him, and political appointments and patronage. And if you have a traditional society that's prone to patron-client relationship, those patrons will bring out the clients. And so he may not win a lot, but he's going to do well. And so the Atiku, one pillar of Atiku's presidency is not that strong. And the second pillar, maybe that if he's a better candidate, these other coalition members can come together and help the troop in the South. I don't see that happening. If the Southern is not on that ticket, the bulk of sentiment is going to go to Tinubu in the South because of the idea of, look, this is just, if you got Jonathan off because he didn't respect zoning, then you got to respect zoning yourself. So in my sense, it doesn't look like a very, very winnable proposition against Tinubu.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Politics. It could make it work. It can spread the sector with politics.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Sam Amadi, for, of course, sharing insights with us as we've been discussing the implications of Atiku Abubakar and El-Rufai joining the ADC. So keep our fingers crossed and see what happens to the Nigerian political landscape come 2027.
Thank you so much, sir.